Hello friends, welcome back to another So Fancy video tutorial. I'm Lindsay. Thanks so much for joining me in today's video where we are taking a journey into the world of card making with your Cricut cutting machine. So if you are a card maker or if you're looking to start making your own cards with all those, cute little paper embellishments and things that you can put onto your card, then you'll find you'll need a lot of card bases to put all those things onto. So you can buy pre-made card bases, but you can also make them yourself. You'll save a lot of money, and you can make them any size you want by making them yourself with your Cricut. So in this video tutorial, we'll show you how to cut and score your own card bases, and then we'll go ahead and finish off the card. We're making a birthday card, but here is really where you can let your imagination and creativity run wild. So no matter what kind of card that you're going to make, or even what die cutting machine that you're using. So if you're using something other than a Cricut, stick around because we'll also be sharing some general card making tips and tricks. So you'll want to stick around for that. And then we'll just go ahead and get started. So first, go ahead and open up Cricut Design Space in a new workspace. And then the first thing you'll do is you'll need to draw a rectangle that is the size of your card base. And you'll do that in the Shapes tool. So click the square and it'll add it to your workspace. And then click that lock icon. And that unlocks the dimension of the shape, so you can change the size of the card base. So if you want a finished card size of 5 by 7 inches, then you would draw a rectangle to 10 inches by 7 inches, because remember, you're going to fold it in half to get that finished card size. And then to add that score line, so you know where to fold it in half, perfectly in half, just go into that Shapes panel again, but this time click score line, and then a dash line is going to be added to the workspace. And depending on the orientation of your card, you may need to rotate the score line 90 degrees so that it's horizontal instead of vertical. And then all you'll need to do is resize that score line to the width of your card base. And then you'll, of course, want to place it in the center of the card, which you can do perfectly by using the alignment tools of Cricut Design Space. So select both the card base and the score line. And then in the top menu, click this down arrow next to align. And then select center horizontally. And then with them both selected, do the same thing again, but this time choose center vertically. And then here you've got your score line in the perfect center of your card base. And then the last thing that you'll need to do is attach the card base and the score line together. So select both of those, and then in the bottom right hand corner, click attach. And if you've got any other elements that you want to add to your card and have your Cricut cut them out, then go ahead and add them now. So I'm adding this retro VW bug SVG, super cute. And if you want to grab it, I posted a link in the video description to the retro and vintage SVG and font bundle where you can find it. And then once you're ready, you can go ahead and cut it out. So click Make It. And now on this screen, you'll see all the different elements of your card laid out on different Cricut mats. And you'll see this first one here is our card base with the score and basic cut. So that's what's going to be happening on the first mat. And then on the second, third, fourth, and fifth, Design Space has color sorted the different elements of that VW bug. So it's going to cut out all the parts of that one color on the same mat on the same sheet of cardstock for me, which is really convenient and quick, and I love that. But first, let's go ahead and score and cut our card base. So click continue and connect your Cricut machine. Here I'm using the Cricut Maker. And the first thing that you'll need to do is set your material for the card base that you're using. And for a nice professional feeling, high quality card base, heavyweight cardstock is going to be best. So like 110-pound cardstock is going to be really substantial and nice. So choose the appropriate material in Cricut Design Space for that heavyweight cardstock you're using. And this is what I love so much about Cricut Design Space, is that it tells you exactly what tools you need and, even what tools you're using next. So here it's telling me to load the double scoring wheel in clamp B. So you would do that if you have that tool, but I'm actually using the Cricut scoring stylist instead. So if you are, then you just need to tell your Cricut that. So click Edit Tools, then select the scoring stylus, and then click Apply. Then you just put that heavyweight cardstock onto your Cricut cutting mat, load that into the machine, and press go. And what I like about the scoring stylus is that you load this tool into clamp A, and then for the cutting, you load that fine point blade into clamp B, so it's all set up. You're not switching out tools for this one. And then the Cricut is going to score that score line and then cut out the card. So when it's all done with that, unload the mat, and then unload the scoring stylus since you won't need that anymore, and then remove the cardstock from the mat. And it's really hard to pick up on camera, but you'll see that there's an indentation along the middle of the cardstock. That's the score line, and so that's where you're going to fold your card in half. But next we're going to cut out the other elements of that VW bug for our card. So just load the correct color of cardstock onto your mat, and Cricut will cut it out. And Cricut Design Space is always going to put the design in the top left corner of the cutting mat, but if you wanted to move it to another area of the mat, you can do that in the software between cutting. Just click on the mat. You'll see a preview of where that design is. Click Edit, and then on this screen here, you can click and drag that piece to another area of the mat. So once all those little pieces are done at cutting, it's time to assemble them to make the VW bug. And some good old-fashioned white glue works great to do that. Now keep in mind that this is your card and you can always make little changes to it to put your own spin on things. So I decided to use a piece of vellum for the windows instead of the gray cardstock cuts. So here I'm just applying some double-sided tape to the back of the bug to stick that vellum to it. So don't be afraid to do things a little bit differently if you do get an idea like that. And then lastly, adding little details to your cards is always super fun. So here we've got some glossy accents that I'm going to put on the hubcaps and then other little areas of the bug. And what this is going to do is dry hard and clear and shiny, and it's just going to give that area a little more dimension and shine and interest. So we're going to set that aside until it's totally dry and then assemble the whole card together. So here's our card base with that score line. And so again, that score line makes it easy to know exactly where to fold and actually makes the folding it easier as well. And when you use like a bone folder or another tool to reinforce that fold, you're going to get a really nice crisp crease in the cardstock. And then you're going to just start putting it all together. And one way to add some extra pops of color to your card is to add a mat, like a photo mat without the photo, to the card. So in this card, we're actually going to add some pink and gray. And the pink is actually the leftover scrap from cutting out the VW bug. So save your scraps, people, because, even if there's like a big cutout in the middle of it, you can still use it for a photo mat for your card, because we'll go ahead and put that gray photo mat over the pink and no one will ever know, and you're gonna save on cardstock. Next, for the sentiment, I didn't have any stamps in my stash that were the right sentiment for this card, so just go ahead and print out your own. I used this Alvarado retro font from the Retro and Vintage SVG and font bundle. So I printed that out just on some cardstock. And by printing out your sentiments, then you just get so many more possibilities of what your cards can say, and then the colors that you can use, because you aren't limited to just the ink pads that you have in your stash. And then go ahead and adhere all these elements down, and consider using foam adhesive for your card or different elements of your card. So that is going to pop up that element from the card, and it gives it like a raised dimension to it, and it just adds a little bit more interest to the card. So you can find the foam dimensional in little squares or in strips like these, which are easy to cut and just curve around the edges. Then you just remove the backing from it, and then you can apply that down to the card. One important thing to keep in mind before you do start adhering embellishments to your card is just to make sure that the card isn't upside down. So that the opening is on the bottom, in this case, when I adhere all the embellishments, because if your card is upside down, then when you put on all the embellishments, then when you go to open the card, then the embellishments would be upside down. So don't ask me how I know that, but do double check before gluing stuff down that you've got the card going the right way. And then your card is just going to come together so nicely. So here is the finished card. Super cute little VW bug. If you like the design and you want to pick it up, plus the font that we used in this card, you can find it in the retro and vintage SVG and font bundle here at So Fancy. So there's a link in the video description for that. And then have fun making your own cards. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.